Respect the power of the turn on. I'm so excited to talk about this today because this conversation could be a game changer. I know it would have been for me if I would have heard about this when I was in the midst of it. So, the very first sentence in this section even says, too many girls have ended up compromising their virtues because they didn't understand and respect the power of the turn on. Yeah, I had no idea. I didn't think about that. If anything, so much of our paradigm around relationships and dating and the thrill of it all it's that turn on thrill. It's that arousal of what's happening. And so much of my paradigm, I know personally, was based off what I was watching on TV and movies and the song lyrics I was singing. It's like just so excited for that attention, that attraction, then that affection that comes. But when we come down to it, when we're actually sitting down in the 40 days of purity thinking, oh man, like how I want to do this right, I want to do this well, let's look at what we're looking for in relationship. You could kind of narrow it down to two things. There's the chemistry aspect, which is what we're talking about with the turn on, and then there's the character. But often when we get stuck in the chemistry, which again, that happens even when you're just, maybe you're like watching, you're like, I haven't even dated yet. I am 14 and I'm trying to learn to do this right. The idea of even when we're watching like a romantic comedy and you see like it's not even a sex scene, it's just the guy and the girl really start building and liking each other and they start kind of they're gonna have their first kiss. It's like you can feel it in your body because God made us with these hormones of things that just would attract us and draw us to marriage one day, to the one person. And so it's so crazy to think about what happens inside of us and what's happening inside of our brains when we have that chemistry with somebody. So when you look at it, of realizing chemistry and character. There's so much that matters in character, right? It's not just about, is this guy going to kiss me good? It's like, does he love the Lord? Is he going to lead a marriage and a family really well one day? Does he have integrity? What does he do for fun? Like there's so much behind the character of a man that you're going to want to look in. But I think what happens and where we get stuck in this compromise is when chemistry takes the forefront. When we're thinking, oh my gosh, we are just drawn to each other. We're like magnets that stick together. We can't keep our hands off of each other. We can't stop texting all night. Whatever that chemistry stuff is where it just keeps building and building. So I think it's really important to know and to dig in what is the turn on. So if you actually look into the science behind it, it's really amazing. It's all about understanding what's happening in the brain and the different hormones that are going off. And so there's even proof that shows that when we are sexually aroused, which again doesn't mean, oh my gosh, you actually had sex with somebody. It could just mean you're attracted and you're starting to have those conversations or you're starting to have those touches. When you have the sexual arousal start, all of the critical thinking, self-awareness, and rational behavior starts to decrease. So it's crazy because you're kind of like, oh, why? Why would that happen? Because in marriage, it's a beautiful thing. You let go and you're just with your spouse. You kind of forget about the cares of the world. You are together. But so in this stage where you're dating and pursuing and seeing if this is the person you're going to choose for the rest of your life, you want to make sure that beforehand you have boundaries in place to respect the character of you as a woman and the character of him as a man. And so if you don't have those decisions made beforehand, the chemistry, those crazy hormones that are going on are going to continue to draw and attract you. And we don't want to live based on lust because some of those could simply be lust. Then they even can narrow down in science. There's lust, there's attraction, and then there's attachment. And so we want to have really healthy attachment to somebody we choose one day, but we don't want to let lust and the chemistry drive the beginning of the train. Like we don't want that to be the beginning of why we're pursuing this relationship. So I love in the real story in today's section, it even shares about a married couple who when they were dating, they were assessing their boundaries and how they were totally okay and they felt great with making out at the beginning. But then they realized, oh man, this is actually too much. We need to tighten our boundaries up. Cole and I had a really similar experience where we'd feel fine and we realized, backseat of a car late at night, not a good place to be because we are so drawn to each other. And so creating really healthy boundaries that could protect the character of both of us so that we could keep the covenant that we wanted to make one day in the future. Okay, so I want to challenge you today to do two things. One is an honest conversation with yourself. You might need to write these down so you don't forget. What are your turn-ons? Like, what are the things that turn you on? What are the things that get you excited or aroused? And then what are your limits? Where do you need to draw those lines within your own life with the way you interact with others, the things you watch, the things you listen to, all of it? What are your limitations? What are your turn-ons so that you can protect and respect your turn-on? The second thing I want you to ask yourself is we as women honestly have been trained. I know personally I felt like I was trained to be sexy. It was like about how sexy can I be? How much can I push up my bra and shorten my shorts? So asking yourself, man, where's the line with that as a believer, as a daughter of Christ? And how do I want to represent myself and think about the way I'm also turning on others? And so asking yourself, man, what are the intentions when I dress? Like when I look in the mirror and I'm picking out an outfit, am I thinking, is this sexy enough? Or am I honestly honoring my body before myself and the Lord? And then the second conversation that I want to challenge you to have is if you have a good godly guy in your life that you could ask just to get a perspective of from a guy that you're like, oh yeah, I don't even know how that affects them or how they think. It might be your dad saying, hey dad, I need to know how guys think. Can you fill me in? Like, what are the ways women make dress or behave that affect them? I want to know how that affects them and kind of enter into their side of the story as well. So it might be a dad if you have a good relationship, a brother, just a great relationship with a guy at church. If you have somebody in your life that you're like, I want to enter into both sides of the story because I want to respect the power of the turn on my end and also on theirs. So there's your challenge for today.